20-foot walk up. Alright, checking the overall appearance of the vehicle for any damage. Making sure it's not leaning to either side. If it is leaning, it shows I have a lower flat tire, broken suspension, or load shift. I'm looking underneath the tractor, looking for any loose, low-hanging wires or any puddles that can indicate a leak. I'm going to start with my headlights, high beams and low beams. They're properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, clear in color, working properly. My left and right turn signal, properly, my left and right turn signal, four-way flash marker light, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, amber in color, working properly. My clearance light, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, amber in color, working properly. Start on the right side of my engine. Mirror, top to bottom, left to right. Alright, my coolant hose, properly mounted and secured, not worn, torn, or frayed, clamps are tight, not leaking. Belt driven alternator, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, no loose or exposed wires. My belt's properly mounted and secured, not worn, torn, or frayed, and no more than 3/4 inches of plate. My exhaust, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, not leaking. If it was leaking, I'd see black soot. My frame, no illegal holes or welds, and not cracked, bent, or broken. Come over this side. This is my coolant reservoir. It is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, filled to the proper level, and not leaking. My dipstick is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, not leaking. Check my hole, I pull my dipstick, should read between the high and low mark. If it's low, I'll add a gallon. My gear-driven air compressor, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, and not leaking. My gear-driven power steering pump, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, and not leaking. Power steering hoses, properly mounted and secured, not worn, torn, or frayed, not leaking, clamps are tight. My power steering fluid reservoir, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, not leaking, filled to the proper level. Belt driven water pump, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, not leaking. My belt is properly mounted and secured, not worn, torn, or frayed, no more than 3/4 inch of play when pressing on it. Alright, that's all the engine components. Now let's take it over to steering. Alright, it's my steering shaft, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, no excessive play, U-joints are properly greased. My steering gearbox, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, not leaking. Pitman arm, drag link, steering knuckle, steering arm, tie rod, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, held together with castle nuts and cotter pins. Got my front and rear leaf spring hanger, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. My leaf spring, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, and properly aligned. Held in place with 2 U-bolts, 4 nuts, and 4 washers. They are tight and properly mounted and secured. Got my hydraulic shock absorber, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, and not leaking. I got my brake hose, properly mounted and secured, not worn, torn, or frayed, and not leaking. My brake chamber, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, and not leaking. Slack adjuster and push rod, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. With my brakes released, it should not have more than 1 inch of play. I've got my brake shoes or brake lining. It's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, no less than 1/4 inch in thickness. Got my brake drum, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, and it's free of any oil and grease, which means the inner axle seal is not leaking. All right. I'm looking for even tread wear, no less than 4/32 of tread depth. My inner and outer sidewall, they're properly mounted. My outer and inner sidewall, there's no abrasions, bulges, cuts, or damages. My rim is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, no illegal holes or welds. My lug nuts are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. They're tight. If it was loose on this aluminum rim, I'd see a white milky substance. My outer hub seal is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, not leaking, filled to the proper level. Metal valve stem and cap, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, and not leaking. At my valve stem, I would use a tire pressure gauge to check my tire pressure. Should be no less than 110 psi. turn signal, four-way flasher, marker light, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, amber in color, working properly. Mirror arm, mirror bracket, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. My door handle is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, working properly. Got my hinges. They're properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. My striker post and my door latch, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, working properly. My DEF tank, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, and not leaking, and cap is tight. Alright, so my steps, they're properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. They're free of any oil, grease, or debris. My fuel cap, alright, right here in this area, you're going to say not leaking 3 times. So my fuel cap is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, and not leaking. Held in place with a safety chain. And it's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. On the inside of my cap, there's a rubber seal. It's properly mounted and secured, not worn, torn, or frayed, and not leaking. My fuel tank is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, and not leaking. And it's held up by a minimum of 2 metal straps with rubber backing. Or rubber insulator, same thing. Alright, this is my reflectors. They're properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, clean and reflective. My working light, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, clear in color, working properly. I have my 6 points of connection. Alright, my air lines, emergency and service, they're properly mounted and secured on both ends. Alright, they're not worn, torn, or frayed, not leaking. My electrical line, properly mounted and secured on both ends, not worn, torn, or frayed, no exposed wires. My exhaust, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, not leaking. If it feels leaking, I see black soot. My drive shaft, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, U-joint properly greased. My frame is not cracked, bent, or broken, no legal holes or welds. Alright, back in there while I'm right here, do my torque rod. It looks like a little dog bone going across from the differential to the frame. Alright, it's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. My bulkhead or my header board is properly mounted and secured. There's no holes, bulges, or damages. Alright, on top got my clearance light. Properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, amber in color, working properly. Alright? And it's all the shit back here. Alright. Look at it. Yeah, cool, I did it.
You can't walk.
Oh shit, no, it wasn't all that. Alright, if it's not there, don't talk about it. But if there is a catwalk, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, free of any oil, grease, or debris. Alright, cool. I guess we're going to do all this stuff right here where I can see a little better. Alright, so now we'll start with suspension. Then do brakes. Brakes take you out to your tire, tire takes you out and down. Alright, so start right here. This is my leaf spring hanger. Properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. My leaf spring, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, and properly aligned. Held in place with 2 U-bolts, 4 nuts, and 4 washers that are properly mounted and secured, and they're tight. Got my hydraulic shock absorber, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, and not leaking. Got my airbag, properly mounted and secured, not worn, torn, or frayed, not leaking. Top and bottom mounts, they're properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. Now, my brake hoses, there's 2 on here. You see how this brake chamber, it looks like there's 2 of them put together? That's showing you that's where your spring brakes are. Alright, there's 2 air hoses going to it, so make sure you talk about 2. Alright, my air hoses, brake hoses, they're properly mounted and secured, not worn, torn, or frayed, and not leaking. Brake chamber, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, not leaking. Slack adjuster and push rod, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, with my brakes release, should not have any more than 1 inch of play. My brake shoes, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, should be no less than 1/4 inch in thickness. My brake drum, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, and should be free of any oil or grease, which means the inner axle seal is not leaking. Alright? I'm looking for even tread wear, no less than 2/30 seconds of tread depth. My inner and outer sidewall, there's no abrasions, bulges, cuts, or damages. Ooh. Looking at my rim, it's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, no legal holes or welds. My lug nuts are all properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, and they're tight. It feels loose. You can see white milky substance on this aluminum rim. My outer hub seal, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, not leaking. My trailer apron, that's the bottom of this trailer right here. All right, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no space between my apron and my fifth wheel. My fifth wheel is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, and properly greased. All right. Now, we got our pivot pin, pivot mount, slide rail, platform, mounting bolts, all properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. My fifth wheel release handles, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, in the lock position with the safety catch over the handle. And then, cool, that's it down here. Now, while we're right here, looking down the side of my trailer, looking for any holes, bulges, or damages. My Dlt Reflective Tape, all right, is going down, covering at least 50% down the length of my trailer. It is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, clean and reflective. Good, I'll come down here. Now, I'm looking into the jaws of my fifth wheel. I'm looking at my locking jaws, making sure it's properly secured around the shank of the kingpin. My kingpin is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All right, it's my brake light, left and right turn signal, four-way flashers, and marker light and reflector. They're all properly mounted and secured, red in color, and not cracked, bent, or broken. My reverse light, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, clear in color. Sometimes there's a tag light right here, so it'd be properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, and clear in color. But if it's not there, don't talk about it. All right, mud flap and mud flap bracket, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. Dlt Reflective Tape, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, clean and reflective. All right, there's enough space between my frame and my landing gear for proper left and right turns. My landing gear is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, and in the fully raised position. Let's step out that way. Ooh. All right. My sand shoes, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, free of any rocks or debris. My crank handle, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, stored in a safe position. All right. Now underneath the trailer, we have our cross members. This is the frame of your trailer, all right? The cross members are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, none are missing, and evenly spaced down the length of the trailer. All right. Turn signal, four-way flasher, marker light, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, amber in color, working properly. Now we're gonna check our sliding tandems. Mention that you're checking your sliding tandems. We're going to start with our slide release handle, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, in the lock position with the locking pins extended. Got my leaf spring, properly mounted, actually, control arm mount, control arm, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. My leaf spring, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. Held in place with 2 U-bolts, 4 nuts, and 4 washers. And they're tight and properly mounted and secured. Got my airbag, properly mounted and secured, not worn, torn, or frayed, not leaking. Top and bottom mounts, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. My hydraulic shock absorber, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, and not leaking. My brake hoses, they're properly mounted and secured, not worn, torn, or frayed, and not leaking. My brake chamber, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, and not leaking. Slack adjuster and push rod, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, and with my brakes released, should have no more than 1 inch of play. My brake lining or brake shoe, they're properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, no less than 1/4 inch of thickness. My brake drum is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, free of any oil and grease, which means the inner axle seal is not leaking. Now, I'm looking in between my tires. All right, make sure there's no debris lodged between my tires. Tires are not touching, and there's no space in between my rims. This is your butt spacing. All right. Now, looking for even tread wear across both tires. Both of them should be no less than 2/32 of tread depth. The outer and inner sidewall of each tire, there's no abrasions, bulges, cuts, or damages. Looking at my rims, they're properly mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, no illegal holes or welds. Lug nuts are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, and none are missing, and they're tight. If they were loose on this steel rim, I'd see running rust. My outer hub seal, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, filled to the proper level, and not leaking. Oh, and I forgot to do this up there. Whenever you finish that axle, I would check this axle the same way I check this one. Would you like me to do so? All right. But to finish this one off, where I do that, I've got a torque rod, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. Now, I would check this axle the same way I check this one. Would you like me to do so? If he says yes, you missed something here. He's giving you an opportunity to hit it. If he says no, good job, keep on going. All right. My door tie, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. ABS light, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, amber in color, working properly. Marker light, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, red in color, working properly. Now, you're gonna want to stand right here and do all this part. But when you're right here, you're looking at all these little things. You know one thing that gets missed a whole lot? The door. Step back a little bit so you can see all of it, get the big picture. All right, and start with the doors. All right, so my doors are properly mounted and secured. There's no holes, bulges, or damages. Looking at all my hinges, they're properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, none are missing. My rubber seal, properly mounted and secured, not worn, torn, or frayed, goes around the entirety of both doors. My door handles, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, and in the lock position. All right, got my Dlt Reflective Tape, top, middle, and bottom. Properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, clean, and reflective. All right, got my brake light, marker light, left and right turn signal, four-way flasher. Properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, red in color, working properly. Got my tag light, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, clear in color. My license plate is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, clean, and up to date with this trailer. My DOT bumper is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. I would check this side of the trailer, same way I check that side. Would you like me to do so? And that concludes your pre-trip.